guys, so today I am back with a quick video. Well, not really quick, another video. I figured it was a good time to do a video and tell y'all a little bit about myself. I have 3 kids. They are 7, 2, and 1. They are my pride and joy. I am married. I have been married now for a year, a little over a year. I got married on August 13th of 2014. So I've been married a little over a year. I absolutely love my husband to death. I have known him since I was 13 years old, and I am 26 now, so is he. We used to ride the school bus together. We were very close friends. Anyway, so let me just start from there. I will start from my story of how I became a mother and all of that. So I grew up in a very small town in Arkansas. I actually lived on the outskirts of where I went to school at, the town that I went to school at. And I rode a bus. I was homeschooled for 6th and 7th grade. Well, then I came back to school in my 8th grade year. And that is when I met my now husband. We, like I said, rode the school bus together. We would sit together almost every single day, of course. Every now and then he would have like a girlfriend that rode that bus that he would sit with them. But for the most part, we sat together every single day. And I had the biggest crush on him, but we were just really good friends. He actually would never date me because he would always go through the, "You're too skinny," or, you know, "We're just really good friends," just anything like that, which was fine. I wrote in my journal all the time, you know, Lindsay loves Eric and Lindsay Ingram and just all that. And so now that I look back, I kind of think that's funny. I really wish I still had all of that stuff. My mom probably has some of the stuff put away somewhere, but we haven't seen it. But anyways, okay, well, then he ends up leaving he was gone my whole 11th grade year. He had moved to Oregon, and I was devastated. We didn't talk that whole school year. He came back, and we came back to be really close. Well, then he ended up dropping out of school, I guess going to get his GED. I graduated high school. I actually met my oldest daughter's father right after high school. I moved about an hour and a half away from the town, so we just kind of went our own ways. My daughter's father is just a whole nother subject. I'm not going to get too far into detail about that because it's just something that I'm just not interested in talking about, but he was very controlling. I was not allowed to talk to anybody that I had talked to prior, definitely not guys. So I kind of just cut myself away from everybody, family, everything. Finally, when my daughter was 3 years old, I had officially got tired of all the crap, and on Easter I left him for good. Into all that, I have more to why I did, but if it's something you guys would like to know, then if I get enough requests, I will do a whole separate video on that and just explain everything. But so I left. Well, then I had actually gotten in contact with my now husband, Eric, and we had been talking for a few weeks. Actually, it was like 2 months. We had just been talking. I had went and met up with him and hung out with him for a little while. And so things progressed, went from there. We started dating. We dated for a few months, and really, honestly, not very long. But it was just more like we just like connected again, like we had not been away from each other. Yes, there had been a lot of stuff that happened, you know, with his life, with my life. And so we just reconnected, everything clicked, and he still is one of my very best friends. Okay, now he's technically my best friend, but he was still one of my very close friends. Like, I still felt that we were just close. And so, like I said, we started dating. Well, then a few months later, a couple months later actually, I found out I was pregnant with our first child together. This would be my second child, also my second little girl. My first child was definitely the love of my life. She definitely changed me a lot. And everything I did, I had done for her. There's a lot in my life that I just kind of keep to myself. I don't tell anybody. I have major anxiety, really bad. And so I actually get very depressed a lot. And without my babies, I probably would do things that honestly, I would regret. But, yeah. Anyways, so then, like I said, I got pregnant with our first child. Definitely changed me. I was so excited. It was not, yes, I had the how am I going to raise another child kind of feeling, but at the same moment, it wasn't like an oh crap moment. Like, you know, when you're just like, boo-hooing, I'm going to be a mom, I'm going to have this kid. No, it actually felt really good. It felt right. It didn't feel like, you know, like my first one was, it didn't feel wrong with her. It was just more, now I'm going to be stuck with him kind of thing. This one did not feel like that. And then, so then we had her. Everything was great. Of course, we have our issues. Always is only with money. That's really our only issue, our only arguments, anything like that. And not just from fighting over money, just bills. And so, yeah, so then I ended up having to, I had a cyst in my breast, and so I wasn't allowed to be on any type of birth control, any hormones, anything like that, or they didn't want any hormones in my body. So, of course, that did not stop us from, yeah, you get my point. Anyways, that didn't stop us, and oh, by the way, I was breastfeeding too. But I had to stop breastfeeding by the time she was 2 months old, which I wanted to go longer, but I stopped by the time she was 2 months old because I had to get all hormones, everything, out of my body, and in order to have surgery. I don't really understand the whole, I guess, breastfeeding because it was in my breast. You know, they just wanted that to be condensed or whatever. Anyways, so then I have my surgery, and then I'm scheduled to get my Mirena, and I ended up finding out I was pregnant, so I canceled my appointment, and my pregnancy test on that one was kind of weird, which all of them just kind of weird. Well, then I was like, you know what, I'm feeling really funny. Like, I think after I found out, it was like 3-4 weeks later, I was just like, you know, I'm feeling really funny. I don't feel right. Something feels wrong. So I went and did a pregnancy test because I did actually start bleeding, and it came back negative. So then I had this like emotional breakdown. I went through the whole my body killed a baby, I guess you can say. Like, it's my fault. It's all this. I now know it is not my fault. It was not my fault. There was nothing I did. But it was still just one of those, I don't know. I had a miscarriage, obviously. And then, so I called, got my appointment made again for my Mirena because my body was able to, because I wasn't that far along, my body was able to release everything without me having to have a D&C, I think is what it was called. So yeah, so then I scheduled my Mirena appointment again, and they were all booked up, so it was like scheduled for another 6 weeks away. So I was like, okay. Well, the day before I went in, I was at work with one of my friends. I worked at a store and got a pregnancy test. I got a 2-pack pregnancy test, and I took one. Well, it came back with a very, very faint positive line. So I gave her the other one, and she went and took it because she did have the Mirena. She was not sexually active at this point. So she took one just to see, I guess, Do they just do a faint line? Could that just randomly pop up? You know, whatever. She took it, nothing. So I was like, crap. So I called the doctor's office and I was like, I just did a pregnancy test. I am supposed to go in tomorrow and get my Mirena put in. And it had a very faint line that I was pregnant. So she was like, okay, you know, well, we obviously can't give it. If there's any question, just go ahead and come in and we will do a pregnancy test here. So I went in, I did my pregnancy test there, and lo and behold, I was pregnant. So I was pregnant with my third child, which, come to find out, was a boy. So I was really excited about that because I had already had my 2 girls, and now I'm finally getting my boy. Well, went through the pregnancy, and let me go through my pregnancies real quick. All 3 pregnancies of mine have been completely different. My first pregnancy was, I was 18 years old when I was pregnant with her. And I did have nausea here and there, but I don't know if it was because I was younger that I didn't let it get to me. I was hiking at 9 months up and down Pedagine Mountain, and so, I mean, I just really didn't realize, you know, that I was pregnant. Like, I had the big old belly and all that. I got really huge with her. Second pregnancy, my second little girl, oh my gosh, that was my worst pregnancy ever. It was just so miserable. I was so sick all the time. I was getting dizzy, fainting, everything. It was the worst pregnancy. The end of my 3rd trimester, it got a little bit better, and then I started swelling in my legs, ankles. Oh my gosh, it was awful. I was definitely ready to have her out. Then my 3rd pregnancy, honestly, really, my son was a breeze, but I had a coffee addiction. I would drink coffee on a daily basis. No, I would not drink like multiple cups, but I did have to have my coffee every morning. I would drink iced coffee periodically, and so, yeah, so then I go in to have him, and I get my epidural and everything. Definitely not the worst pregnancy, but the hardest delivery. My first 2, I popped them out with no problems whatsoever. My longest labor was, between the 2 girls, was about 4 hours. Both of them. They were both about 4 hours. And with him, oh, and by the way, my body will not break its water. They have to break my water because something in there, the way it sits or something, my water will not break. So they have to break my water. But anyway, so my son, they break my water and everything. Like, literally, every time after I've got my epidural, it's been within 10 minutes I'm pushing. Literally within 10 minutes. On my second little girl, my epidural did not really kick in until, like, after was when I started really feeling it. So I pretty much felt her whole delivery. There was points that I didn't feel, but anyway, so with my son, I will try and keep on subject now. With my son, they had the epidural in. I felt like I needed to take a major poop and tell my mom that, and she's like, they just put your epidural in, you were just dilated to only a 7. I said, well, Mom, I really feel like I need to poop. And she was like, okay. So she goes and gets the doctor, or nurse. She gets a nurse and comes back and she checks me and she's like, oh, you're a 10. You need to push. I'm like, okay. And so we go to push. Well, his heart rate or something starts really dropping. And so they get it. And at this point, they're kind of thinking I'm going to have an emergency C-section because of the way he is. Well, they had me up flipping with this epidural in, getting up on all fours, flipping around because they could tell he was stopping breathing or whatever in it. I was paranoid, but I had to try and stay calm because if I, stressed or was paranoid, it put more stress on him and all that. Well, I go to push, and they had me pushing where I was on all fours with this epidural, and they had me pushing so that I would not have all my stomach pressure, all that laying back on him. Everything was just falling. So that maybe he could relax more, whatever. So finally I get him and I start pushing and get him to where he is starting to come out. Well, they realize there's like some lip. I didn't have it with my other two, but I did with him that was kind of preventing. So they have to reach in there and like pull it up over him. Come to find out, he came out sideways. His shoulders came out like this and his head was facing my leg. So there was a major issue with him. So his thing was like smushed different. They take him, and they didn't do this with my 2-year-old because my 2-year-old and my 1-year-old, they're only 13 months apart. And so, but they did with him, and they take and lay him on my chest immediately out of the wound. Didn't clean him up, so, it was a skin-to-skin contact. They've actually started doing it, which I love it. Yes, it is kind of gross, but I just love it because it's more, I guess the way they put it, it helps like bring his body temperature to the way it's supposed to be or something like that. But I like it because it's like a bonding moment. This is my first time I got to hold him, and this was the only time I got to hold him for almost a week. He went in there to go get cleaned up, and they bring him back to me, or no, they come back in there, clean my mess up, all this, and my husband goes to take his mother home and my 2-year-old. Well, my parents were still there with my 7-year-old, which she was only like 5 at the time. But they were still there. Well, they go to get something to eat. So I'm there by myself at this point because we hadn't really told anybody that we were delivering yet. And so, at this point, they leave, come back, and, they're like, okay, well, I guess he's going to be in there a while. He was back there for like two hours. And they go to leave and go home, and we're just going to come back a little later. That way my daughter could, rest or whatever. So my husband's gone, and they stopped my parents, and they're like, is she in there by herself? They were like, yeah, they didn't see any big deal. This was my 3rd child. I was just going to relax until they brought me my baby, because I figured he would be back in there soon. They were like, well, we've got to go in there. We don't want her to be alone. Y'all go in there too. So they're like, okay. Nobody wants to hear that. They kind of were in a freak mode, whatever. And so they come in there, and of course I'm looking at them like, what are y'all doing? They were like, they told us to come back in here. I immediately broke down into tears. I just knew that was the worst news any parent wants to hear. So the nurse comes in there and tells me, your son is being transported to Children's Hospital. Definitely the worst feeling in the world to me. No mother wants to hear that your child is being transported to Children's Hospital 2 hours after birth. So they immediately med-flighted him. So before I'm like, when are y'all doing it? They're like, immediate. He stopped breathing, and we had to try and make him breathe. He just started turning purple. He wouldn't breathe on his own. Would not. So they med-flighted him. Of course, I had to stay at the hospital where I gave birth. And my husband did not make it back in time to tell his son. They brought him in there, in the stuff that they were going to med-flight him in. That little cubicle, huge thing. All types of wires and everything. I will try and insert a picture of it if I can find one on my computer towards the end of this video so y'all can see what all he looked like. Of course, my 5-year-old got to hear all this because she was in there, and she got to say bye to her brother. She was bawling. I was bawling. We didn't know what was going to happen because like I said, he wasn't breathing. Well, then they ended up releasing me the next day. They released me, yes, earlier than they were supposed to because I'm supposed to be there 24 hours after delivery. But they ended up releasing me like, I want to say, they released me at 7 in the morning, and they shouldn't have released me till 2 that afternoon. So yeah, so they released me. My husband and I went straight up to Children's Hospital. I was so uncomfortable. Obviously, I had just given birth. And at Children's Hospital, obviously, I had to keep walking. He was in the NICU, and it was definitely the worst thing. He was very alert. He has had more needles poked in him than I have ever had in my whole life. But he was very alert and would just look at you and just look around. He would focus really good. You know how babies, when they're first born, they'll go cross-eyed a lot and all that? He didn't do that. He actually stayed very focused. And so he was in there for a little bit over a week. Come to find out, after they ran all types of tests, seizure test, everything, spinal tap, everything kept coming back normal. And they were like, okay, this is strange. Well, come to find out, they gave him a caffeine shot. And if any of you know what a caffeine shot is, or if you have a preemie, you will know what a caffeine shot is. It's something they give preemies to kind of more so jumpstart their bodies and everything, jumpstart their heart, and just, keep everything going. They gave him this caffeine shot, and we're like, we normally just give this to preemies, but we're going to try it. So they give it to him, and he has never stopped breathing. And it is actually due to the fact that I was drinking so much caffeine and coffee and all that during my pregnancy with him. I didn't think, it would actually do anything to him, but it does. So do not drink too much caffeine. I've heard you're not supposed to, but I have not. It wasn't actually like a horrible thing. And of course I didn't go to my doctor and tell my doctor that I'm drinking coffee every day. Do I need to stop? It just did not click for some reason. So yeah, so then finally they weaned him off of the oxygen, all that. And he has not stopped breathing ever since. I still get paranoid, and he sleeps with a blanket over his head. And it just bothers me. I know it's his comfortable, but I'll constantly be like pulling the blanket off. But yeah, so now he is going on 2 years old. In April he will be 2. And I'm just very grateful for everything that Children's Hospital has done for my son, because honestly, without them, I would not have my little boy. But yeah, so now I've been married, like I said, for a year now. We are still renting. We soon hope to be able to buy a home within the next couple of years. We are actually about to move to a bigger place. Right now we are living in a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. That is awful. When you have 5 people living in a house, 4 actually potty trained, and 1 working on potty training, no, it does not. It's awful. So we are moving from this 3-bedroom, 1 bath to a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Yes! So hopefully within the next couple of weeks we will be moving. She is actually in the process of cleaning it out. Our rent does not change. We are keeping the exact same rent amount. And over there we will have 2 living areas. It has 2 living areas. It actually has a laundry room, and if my room was not so messy, I would show y'all. But I'm in my bedroom right now, and my washer and dryer are right there in my bedroom. So this is awful. So not only am I like sharing my bed, or I have all my junk from my bedroom, I have everybody else's laundry, clothes, everything just right here. That's why you'll see behind me, you see clothes, because I was folding laundry and stuff too. So I have clothes right there. Over at this other house, I have a huge laundry room that has a door and everything I can shut off. It's a walk-in. It has a door out the back of it. And that's where the half bath is. It's also in there. So that's pretty exciting. It has its own little dining room area. It's not a very big dining room, but my kitchen is covered in cabinets, which is wonderful because right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cabinets right now, and one of those being underneath the sink. So I put my cleaning stuff and everything like that under my sink. So I have like no cabinet space. I don't have any cabinets in my bathroom. Nothing. It's awful. And anyways, so one of the, like, I don't know if I said, but it has 2 living areas. So one living area obviously is going to be our living room. The other one is going to be the kids' playroom. And that that's really, really, really convenient for them to have a playroom because obviously my son plays with my daughters. And so he's constantly in their room, or they're all in his room, or whatever. But the girls share a room. And with both of them having so much toys, clutter, whatever, there's no room in their bedroom now. So I will have all toys moved out in the playroom. It'll just be their bedroom, their personal space, and I will be able to just design their rooms how I want and not have all this extra junk. So that's pretty exciting. The whole yard's fenced in, I will do a video on that, and it's not like anything special. It's just a double-wide mobile home, trailer, whatever you want to call it. But it is nice. It really is, other than the fact it has hideous carpet. But it is okay. It's just temporary is what I keep telling myself. I will eventually have a house that I want that is big enough for us. But yeah, so soon I will do a video on that and a house tour video. But as for now, this is my Meet Me life story. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up if you like this. If you didn't, you can give it a thumbs down. But yeah, so